Well, it was a wild night last night as Philadelphia cleaned house with both Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith. Let's look at their picks happening tonight, some options on who they could go ahead and take, and also some trade candidates have popped up, most notably a running back. I'm Thomas Mott. This is the Thomas Mott Show. Guys, Thomas Mott here. Welcome to the Thomas Mott Show on a Friday. I'm still recovering from last night, 4 hours plus on the air, plus a video that went up late last night. Huge shout out to everyone who joined the live stream. Myself, Josh Davis, had a blast watching Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith become Eagles. Let's dive into the Eagles' picks tonight, and some options on who they could take, and some trade rumors that have popped up as well. Here are your picks. You got, obviously, Carter and Nolan Smith, but then you have round 262, very early tonight. Obviously, that one is going to be very, very interesting. They got to wait towards the end of the second round, but still, that one is definitely one they're going to really look to hit on another starting offensive or defensive player. And then the one at 66, right after the second round draft pick, they have the Cardinals' third round draft pick, which obviously was swapped with Arizona for the legal tampering situation. And then the two seventh rounders tomorrow, 221 and 250. So 2 picks tonight for rounds 2 and 3. It's going to be very interesting to see where they go with those. We're going to jump into some options here in just 1 second. First, though, I do want to go ahead and mention there's a very interesting thought in terms of what Philadelphia could be doing, not only with the Nolan Smith situation, but also with the situation with AndreSwift. Let's start with Nolan Smith here. James Palmer had a really good tweet this morning, quote, "Multiple teams were calling the Eagles when they were picking at 30, looking to get back up into the first round per sources. The thought is it would have been for the fifth-year option for a quarterback. Philly decided not to do a deal and pick Nolan Smith, who they never thought would be there at 30. So pretty good stuff there on Nolan Smith. Also, Howie Roseman last night was asked about the pec situation. Says he's totally healthy. No worries there. Thumbs up for Howie figuring out a way to just stay put. I mean, you don't do anything. Stay put and let Nolan Smith fall right into his lap. I mean, a top 15 player. We talked about it last night. Massive stuff. Now, over to AndreSwift. Dov Kleiman has this. Quote, "Update. NFL teams are calling the Lions about a trade for running back AndreSwift per Jeremy Fowler. Lions drafted running back Jahmyr Gibbs 12th overall last night and also signed David Montgomery to be a big free agent deal." And so, obviously, odd man out. You're probably going to go ahead and see AndreSwift get traded. He's obviously born in Philadelphia, linked to Philadelphia. I think he could really be an option for the Eagles if they don't like any of the other remaining running backs in the draft. We'll look at those here in just 1 second, but I think that if you're looking at that physical running back who also has some shiftiness in him, it could be a really good option for the Eagles, especially when healthy. Swift might make some sense, and he wouldn't cost a lot. I mean, you're talking about maybe a 5th or a 6th round draft pick next year, and he's still very cheap. So keep an eye out for AndreSwift. I think he's definitely one of the possible trade options over the weekend for Philadelphia if they feel like they need to pull the trigger on a running back. The other is Budda Baker. Now, he wasn't going to be traded last night. It'll be happening over the weekend or maybe even after the draft if it does. But this is another idea. If you don't get a Brian Branch, if you don't like the safeties that are available in round 2, maybe you go ahead and call the Cardinals about Budda, who seemingly are in a rebuild situation. They didn't trade DeAndre Hopkins yesterday, like a lot of us thought that they would, but keep an eye on this as a possible trade for Philadelphia. I think it makes a ton of sense because you get the veteran safety presence to go on what's already going to be an absolutely stacked defense, and I could not wait to see what happens with Howie and the ability to make trades. Obviously, with these picks this year and the picks that are happening next year, keep an eye on both Budda and AndreSwift. Do you have a preference? Would you rather have Budda? I'd have AndreSwift, rather have neither of them. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comments section. Also, obviously, we're still mentioning there's still some available. The Philly hats are going like crazy. I only have 60 of these, 30 in black and 30 in green. A bunch of pre-orders last night. Pre-orders are still happening here. I think these look absolutely fantastic. It makes a very simple yet bold statement, and it's custom stitched. I mean, this is 3D printing, 3D puff print, as they say, at my local embroidery shop here in Atlanta. I mean, it fits really well. It looks really good. You get the the Kelee green and the black. If you want to pre-order one, link down below in the description box. Shipping will start probably the first or second week in May, which is, right around the corner. So jump in on that. ThePhillyHat.com is where you want to go to pick that up. Okay, let's go to the NFL Drafts ESPN page, looking at the best available players going into round 2 tonight. Will Levis is obviously number 1. Shocking he fell out of the first round. Has some toe injury concerns there, but he's the best player available according to the big board here. I think he will go very quickly as teams were trying to trade back up, possibly the Eagles at 30, to make some picks. So who could the Eagles realistically take? They have to move up in round 2 if they want any of Michael Mayer, Joey Porter Jr., or Brian Branch, because right now they're at 62. And really, the next pick is going to be 32. And so you have, 30 picks until Philadelphia on the board. Those are the top 3 favorites, I think, for a lot of Eagle fans, but they have got to fall if they were to go ahead and end up in the lap of the Philadelphia Eagles. So let's go to some more, I think, realistic players that the Eagles could take if they were to go ahead and fall a little bit here. You see Darnell Washington, the tight end for Georgia. I don't know if he'd be there at 62, but there are a lot of talks about Philadelphia maybe doing another tight end. Drafted Dallas Goedert when Zach Ertz was still on the roster. Darnell Washington was overshadowed by Brock Bowers at Georgia, but we're talking about Philadelphia's Georgia of the North. Darnell Washington is an absolute massive human being and makes some sense there for Philly. I think you also throw in Osiris Torrance out of Florida, the guard. Obviously, they didn't go for Peter Skoronski. Thank goodness. Very happy they didn't do that. But Torrance would be some competition for Juergens if you are worried about the right guard spot as well. B.J. Ojulari was always an option for the Eagles at 30. I think he no longer is the pass rusher out of LSU, just due to the fact you got Nolan Smith. He's kind of the other pass rushing outside linebacker. He doesn't make a lot of sense, but technically he is there if you wanted to go ahead and make a move. I would keep my eye on Kelee Ringo tonight. The Eagles didn't want to spend a high draft pick on a cornerback with Darius Slay and James Bradbury locked down for the next couple of years, but Ringo is kind of this hybrid guy who maybe could play some safety, maybe move him into the middle. He can tackle. It's the lateral quickness that makes people a little bit curious. Straight line, he's been just fine, but Ringo is someone I think who definitely could fall and could be an option for Philadelphia if they wanted to. Trenton Simpson is another option, obviously in the later round in terms of the late second, early third. He's an inside linebacker out of Clemson, and I do think a solid player. I don't necessarily think that they need him, but keep an eye if they wanted to go linebacker. He's probably the best available. Marvin Mims out of Oklahoma could also be off the board at some point tonight. I don't think the Eagles are going to do it. They signed Olamide Zaccheaus. I talk about the revenge tour with the wide receiver 3 in terms of Quez Watkins, so another name you're going to recognize, but it doesn't make a lot of sense. Now, running backs are where it gets interesting here. The next best one available is the one of Charbonnet, I'm first going to say his name, out of UCLA. Keep an eye on him if Philadelphia doesn't trade for AndreSwift or wants a running back. They got A-Shane and Kendry Miller, obviously, as well, so a couple of running backs who could go off the board, especially tonight. I think A-Shane could be very interesting. I'm not sure I'm thrilled about him, but keep an eye on running backs as well. Isaiah Foskey is another defensive end. I don't think you need one. I think the Eagles would rather go offensive line instead of defensive line after what they were able to do last night. But another name we've seen tossed around and one I think Philadelphia met with at the Combine as well. All these rest of these names, we get back here further, it gets really hard to find somebody who I think could be taken. I think Jordan Battle, if you really wanted a third-round safety, not in the second round. Tank Bigsby pops up there as well, but there are definitely names here to be had. I just think if we go back to the first page, most of the names that you are going to want in terms of Joey Porter Jr. and Brian Branch and Michael Mayer, these are the guys you'd have to go up in the draft to get, and the Eagles have the power to do so, especially with all the picks next year, but if you wanted them, you got to move up in the draft, so we will wait and see. I'll have a draft recap video tonight. Obviously, I've mentioned I'm at a wedding this evening. I'm kind of bad timing of my buddy Landon getting married on night 2 of the draft, so I can't be live, but I will do a recap video as soon as I get back. Maybe in my suit and tie, who knows, as we get to see who at Philadelphia is going to do. Plenty of stuff on Twitter as well. Follow me on Twitter, @RealThomasMott. I'll be on my phone the entire time during the wedding watching this thing, so if you guys want to interact, that's the best way to do it. Let me know what you guys think. Who do you want in round 2 and round 3 tonight? Comment down below in the description box. I'd love to have your guys' thoughts on that overall. I'm Thomas Mott on what has been already an A+ draft. Anyone else they grab is going to just be icing on the cake. This has been the Thomas Mott Show.